Hi everyone. About half my audience is from the UK. I think only about 25% of my audience is from America now. So for the rest of you, let me explain, basically American politics in a nutshell. You've got two political parties in America. One of these political parties is pro-fracking, pro-big oil, pro-big business, pro-prisons for profit complex, pro big pharma, pro charging young people for their education and making them get into huge amounts of debt, and pro tax cuts for the rich and all these horrible things. And then the other party is the Republicans, who just do all those things but worse. That is the state of American politics. You have basically got the Democratic Party in the grip still of neoliberalism. Their Jeremy Corbyn was cheated out of winning his primary. Although the Labour Party tried to cheat Jeremy Corbyn over here, the DNC are just much better at their corruption and cheating than the Labour Party were. And what you're left with essentially with neoliberalism always is they never actually put forward any policies that would excite the electorate and get them to vote for them. They've pretty much, left the bottom 30-40% of the economical ladder. They've thrown them overboard 30 years ago or whatever it was. And they're just now trying to fight between each other for the rest of, the votes. This is why I think, and most people hypothesize, that turnout for general elections in America is basically only just over 50%. It's because the Democratic Party don't actually stand for anything. They're not left-wing. You've got two right-wing parties in America. And because of this is Tom Perez up there, just in case you didn't know, who speaks like this. He likes to say things like putting hope on the ballot and leading with his values. Let me show you. This is an interview from a few weeks ago, and this is sort of a speech that he's said many, many times. Take a listen.
Reverend Sharpton, we are talking to people in every zip code, and we're saying we're fighting for your health care. We're fighting to make sure if you have a pre-existing condition, you can keep your health care.
If you notice there, we're fighting for your health care. We're fighting if you've got a pre-existing condition. In other words, we're fighting to keep making sure that our health system in America doesn't actually make people better. It just makes a tiny amount of people richer. That's essentially what he's saying there. Obamacare without a public option is pretty much the bare minimum that they could have possibly done in 2010 or whatever it was Obamacare was passed. Let me continue with, you'll notice a word salad of platitudes. This is something that he does and the DNC do all the time.
We're fighting to bring down the cost of prescription drugs.
Again, bring down the cost of prescription drugs. We're fighting to keep the pharmaceutical companies making a fortune, just maybe not as much as they used to before, to make sure that people don't come for us with pitchforks.
We're fighting for quality education.
We're fighting for quality education. We're not fighting to invest for free education and to invest in the future of, young people. Invest that knowing that it's whatever we invest is going to come back 8 to 10 times in tax over the course of their employment. You're starting to see where I'm going here.
We're fighting to make sure that we have a criminal justice system that is fair to everyone.
He's not fighting to end the prison for profit system, which is unfairly jailing black people and minorities and people who are basically in prison for non-violent crimes. Just to give you an idea, America locks up more people than anybody in the world per million people, per 100,000 people. They've got more people incarcerated than anywhere else around the world. Something like 24% of the world's prison population is incarcerated in America. You see there, he's not actually saying we're fighting for legalised marijuana and we're fighting to end the drug war or anything like that. It's all platitudes.
We're fighting to make sure that you have the right to vote.
You have the right to vote. That should be, a constitutional right. You know, they'll demonize Venezuela for Venezuela in the media. They'll demonize Venezuela as having rigged elections, when actually it's one of the fairest and most unriggable elections in the world. And in Venezuela's constitution, they have the right to vote. And because it's in their constitution, therefore being able to register is a very simple process. So you can see here, he's not actually giving any policies. It's very similar to the neoliberals over in the UK, people like Chuka Umunna, who I did a video about earlier.
We're fighting to make sure we have an education secretary who actually believes in public education.
That's just, it's a nothing sentence, isn't it? We're fighting to have an education secretary that's a bit better than Betsy DeVos.
We're fighting for our democracy.
And there he goes. We're fighting for our democracy. And this is the point. This is something that he's added recently. He's usually saying, we're fighting to put hope on the ballot. And we're leading with our values. And when we lead with our values, we win. That's basically what he says.
Fighting this culture of corruption. And we're putting hope on the ballot. And
oh, there it is. Hope on the ballot. It is something that he keeps coming back to all the time.
And what heartens me, Reverend Sharpton, we saw it last week in
so I'll end it there. You can see, you know, where we're going. But this is something. Democracy is something that's a new thing. It's putting democracy on the ballot is something that I haven't seen them being talked about before. And the Democrats tweeted this out. I think this was earlier today, actually. Our democracy is on the ballot. And it's up to us to make sure Democrats make it to governors' mansions across the country on election day. No policies, though. Hey, Democrats. No policies. So for anybody who is a little bit curious as to what's going on in America right now, this is basically why you have Trump. It's not because of Julian Assange. It's not because, you know, Trump was in league with Putin and he's Putin's buddy and he's a Kremlin puppet, a Kremlin stooge or anything like that. You've got Trump as America's president, as the leader of the free world right now, because the DNC sucks and they don't actually stand for anything that regular people and working class people in America want. They threw them overboard 30 years ago and they don't effing care about them. So we're coming up to the midterms in about 3 weeks. And there's a lot of talk, and pollsters are all saying that the Democrats have an 8-point lead or an 11-point lead. So before you actually think that the Democrats are going to sweep back to power and get a majority back in the Senate and get a majority back in the House and be able to resist Trump as the hashtag resistance, oh, resist, we have to resist. Before you actually think, oh yeah, they're going to take back the House and Senate, I want to basically give you a word of caution. That might not happen. There is bound to be a backlash against Trump. There always, when it comes to midterms, there's always a backlash against the ruling party. Because whenever you've got a ruling party, it's rarely that they'll get in the first 2 years, the president's approval rating will actually go up. In fact, I don't think that's ever happened. I think the only time in recent history it happened was with George Bush when 9/11 happened and his approval rating shot up to like 90-odd%. Barring disasters like that, they generally go down because, let's face it, ruling people they always piss people off no matter what they do. Even though the pollsters are saying, yeah, the Democrats have got a +8 or +11 or whatever it is, I want to give you a word of warning. Yes, there may be a backlash against Trump in the midterms in 3 weeks' time. However, I've got an inkling that this is going to be in blue states, i.e. this is going to be in states like California, states like New York, that are already overwhelmingly Democratic, because the states that actually swung the election in 2016 for Donald Trump were what's known as the Rust Belt states. These are states like Michigan, states like Pennsylvania. They used to call it the Blue Wall because these are states that the Republicans, they thought, would never be able to take back. Well, Hillary Clinton took it for granted that those people we're going to vote for her. The trouble is, those are the states that were hit the hardest from ridiculous policies like TPP and NAFTA, which essentially took manufacturing jobs from these Rust Belt states and exported them to Mexico and elsewhere in the world, where they took advantage of cheap labour. And I have seen absolutely nothing from the Democrats that would actually help the people in those Rust Belt states. Let me give you an example of just how messed up the DNC's framing is with regards to Michigan, and just how Michigan really was the epitome of why the Democrats sucked so bad in 2016. There was something like he won by something like 10,000 votes in Michigan. I haven't got the exact figures to hand. I'm doing this from memory. Trump won Michigan by, I think it was less than 10,000 votes. Over 90,000 ballots were recorded in Michigan, where they voted for everything else on the ballot, governor, justice, attorney general, that sort of thing. They voted for all those, but for president, they left it blank because they couldn't swallow and tick the box for Hillary Clinton, because they knew that she cheated Bernie Sanders, and they knew that Hillary Clinton was a horrible, vile woman who really didn't stand for anything that they wanted, and her husband was one of the main reasons why their states are pretty much in a third world situation right now. I just wanted to do a little video just to explain why we've got Trump in America, and not to hold your breath in thinking that they're going to take the House and Senate back. They may, just because of the backlash against Trump. They may, but they have come out with absolutely zero policies that would help the working class in America. And the reason they haven't done that is because of how I started this video. They are pro-farmer, they are pro-big oil, they are pro-big business. And the reason they are pro those things, as well as the Republicans who just take more money from these people, the reason they are is because they take money from those areas. So they can't actually give any policies such as Medicare for all. We've got an NHS system in the UK, which, let's face it, over 90+%, maybe over 95% of people in this country support and love. We're absolutely jumping up and down at the moment because the Tories, through austerity, are not funding it right. In America, they haven't got that. In America, if you haven't got insurance and you break your leg, there's a good chance that you're going to go bankrupt, because you'll go to the hospital, they'll patch you up, they'll chuck you out on the street, and then they'll give you a $25,000 bill. Over half of all GoFundMes, I think, are for medical expenses. One of my friends in America had cancer, and through his employer, he actually had health insurance. But there were deductibles on that insurance, and he still had to raise £6,000 for life-saving treatment. Life-saving. So if they were to come out in support of Medicare for all, which actually saves money, even though they have got this health insurance system and they think it's great and the free market and all that, well, the thing is, it still costs twice as much as a Medicare for all or an NHS system, because there are built-in profits there. They don't actually, have a system that makes people better. They have a system, as I've said before, that makes a few people a hell of a lot richer. Just wanted to do a little bit of a video just to say to people, especially people in America as well, I know people are looking forward to this blue wave that they think is coming. What I'm saying to you is, don't get too excited, because if what I'm hearing from Tom Perez and the DNC and the policies, they're not coming out with any policies at all. Nothing really that will excite the electorate. If they were to come out for Medicare for all, they would sweep to power. They would be winning in areas that they hadn't won for 50 years because of the amount of people who are in, let's face it, healthcare poverty right now in America. But they won't do it because they're corrupt and because they take money from these big organisations. Just wanted to do a little video just explaining the DNC sucks, and it looks like they're going to continue to suck for some time to come. So if you're expecting a blue wave and you're expecting to take back both the House and the Senate and have some sort of resistance against Trump after the midterms in 3 weeks, I'm saying you might be a little bit disappointed when November the 8th, November the 9th comes. If you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and click the bell below so you get a notification of when I drop further videos. Independent voices like mine, I'm sure you're aware by now, are being censored across all social media platforms, so please like and comment on the videos. That really does help the channel out, and share the videos wherever you can to grow the audience. If you can, please support me on Patreon. You can do it for as little as $1 a month. I cannot do this without your help. I rely on your donations. Thanks very much for your support. It really is appreciated. Until next time, peace and take care.